according to Savile himself, he was originally booked to be a referee, but wanted to wrestle. His first match was against Gentleman Jim Lewis, who had no mercy and beat him up at least 5 matches, apparently. Savile claims to have appeared on 107 cards. 106 were sellouts between the late 1950s and early 1970s, and he also says that he lost his first 35 matches. First time you heard Jimmy Savile was trying to get into the wrestling business?
He started off wrestling for Jimmy Lewis. Gentleman Jim Lewis taught him to wrestle as best he could. Gentleman Jim Lewis wasn't that marvelous a wrestler. But anyway, to actually use his fame, his name, would draw crowds. Because in those days, Jimmy Savile was really over. Everybody, they didn't know what he was. They thought he was marvelous. Jim will fix it and all that sort of stuff. But it's him that brought him into the business. But then when wrestling started to get so popular, with joint promotions, Gentleman Jim Lewis actually got some work with them and introduced Jimmy Savile. Jimmy Savile did all kinds of funny stuff for promotion to put himself over as a tough guy. I think he did like the basic training with the Royal Marines and lots of different sort of stuff like that. And now he claimed to be a professional wrestler. And of course, like Jimmy Lewis, Jimmy Lewis was like, other wrestlers called Jimmy Lewis the Grey Rat. You couldn't trust him any further than you could throw a bleeding steamroller. But anyway, he brought him in, introduced him. Dale Martins, for instance, never used him, and they wouldn't use him because they wanted to keep the business as straight as possible. And with something like that, how could you? You know what I mean?
Mm.
But anyway, Jimmy Savile really thought he was a tough guy.
Well, I'll ask you this then.
I don't actually remember. I don't actually remember being on the same card as him before. But anyway, I was wrestling in Sheffield.
I can't remember.
I think it was the ice rink.
Yeah, it was an ice rink.
Nottingham ice rink.
Ah, yes.
I was wrestling in Nottingham ice rink against George Kidd, who I've already told you I've got immense respect for. And he taught me more about real technical wrestling and shoot wrestling than anybody else, even more than Mike Dimitri. I wrestled with him in a non-title match at Nottingham Ice Rink, main event. Not only did I beat him 2 straight submissions in about 7 minutes. And he ended up in the infirmary in Nottingham. He actually had to go to hospital.
Right.
He's gone into special training and they're doing like all the publicity and everything like that. When George Kidd comes back, Adrian Street's in for it and all the rest of it. This was going to be immense. This was going to be like the fight of the century. In the meantime, he's gone into special training. He couldn't be on the next show because he hadn't healed up enough by then. So what do? I'm on the next show. They throw Jimmy Savile in as my opponent. I mean, come on. And because he's a big name and all the rest of it at that time, promoter comes in, he says, Adrian, I want you to do, he said, you're wrestling with Jimmy Savile. I said, you're kidding. He said, no. He said, I want you to do a draw. You know, I want you to do a drawn match with him. I don't want him beat.
Right before your big rematch with George Kidd as well.
You see the point.
Exactly, yeah.
This is a promoter, right, who'd been a professional wrestler himself. Ted Beresford is asking me to do that. I said, you've got to be bloody joking. Now, he said the wrong thing. He said, don't underestimate him, Adrian. He said he's been training with, he's a tough guy, like, he's been training with he done all this with the Royal Marines. As if he was going to intimidate me with something like that. I said, you're going to be bloody kidding. I said, he gets nothing. I said, what ever induced you, as I'm wrestling with George Kidd in a world title match on the next show, and you give me this? I said, no way. And Jimmy Savile was standing there. I said, nothing against you, mate. I said, you're not a wrestler. I said, you'll get nothing from me. I said, except hurt. That's it. So I warned you before we went in. Now, I always, as a heel, as a bad guy, I always preferred my opponent to go into the ring first. He goes into the ring, everybody cheers him, hooray, like blah, 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 blah. Then I make my entrance and they can boo and all the rest of it, and I'll do my thing, do my entrance and all that sort of stuff. Now, the thing is, if you do it the other way around, I'll go in there, I'm not suddenly going to melt or disappear. It was better for me to come in second. It was better for my opponent too. Because the thing is, I'm not going to disappear in the corner while my opponent's making the entrance. So I'm still going to be strutting about. I'm still going to get the attention, at least if my opponent goes in first. You know, that's the way I like to do it. Bloody Ted Beresford double-crossed me. He come running up, he said, quick, Adrian. He said, like, they're playing your music. I'd already told him he's going to go in first. They're playing your music, your opponent's already in the ring. So I went up, and it was like a hell of a place to make an entrance in Nottingham Ice Ring. You go up, the spotlights hit you and everything like that, and you come down the steps, and the people are all around, like, looking down on the fun. The atmosphere you'd get from that would almost put a football bleeding crowd to shame. I mean, it really pumped you up, you know. I mean, I'm up there, spotlights hit me and everything like that. I'm sort of looking. I looked down. The ring was empty. Jimmy Savile wasn't there. Between Jimmy Savile and the promoter, they did that on purpose. People see me now. What am I going to do? Run back in the dressing room? I've had to go through with it. So you can imagine now, I'm not happy camper. Not happy at all. I've gone down in there and everything like that, got in the ring. Jimmy Savile makes his entrance, people go nuts. I purposely won't look at him. Oh, I'm in the corner like, oh. Just ignoring the entrance, everything like that. He comes in the ring and the people are still cheering, all the rest of it. Now, I'm waiting for him to come in the ring, do whatever he's going to do. And then I'll go about doing my stuff, showing off, preening. I've still got my gown on, everything like that. I'm not going to take my gown off until he's in the dressing, until he's in there, and through the corner of my eye, I'll watch him take his. He came out aping me. He got like a fancy gown and all the rest of it. It's like a garish, like a cheap garish version of what I'm wearing. She's coming like mimicking me. How close in his fight with bloody flame for crying out loud. Anyway, to the corner of my eye, right, eat this rope. Now I'll do my stuff. So I've come out now and everything like that. And it's like the next time I looked at him, he's going to say, there you go. Damn me, he's wearing another gown underneath. He did me. Not only that, underneath that, he was wearing another one. He had about 3 or 4 gowns. So I've taken my gown off. I've gone back in the corner and right. The bell went. Linda was in the audience. This is before she was wrestling. She was in the audience watching a match. She said, you look like a hungry fox going after a frightened chicken. I ripped his hair out of his head. I mean, he dyed his hair that many times. It was all sort of scrawlish and wispy and everything anyway. Underneath the ring lights, you could see all wisps of his hair and everything falling around. I drop kicked him so hard, he landed on his head. I beat the crap out of him. I ripped him up off the floor. I kicked him, I smashed him, stomped on him and everything like that. And I put a submission on him that nearly broke his back. And they shuffled him out of the ring. That was the end of the contest.
How long did the match go for? What was the time?
He never, ever, ever wrestled again. But I'll add another little bit to the story. He actually had a club, a nightclub in Bournemouth, I think it was. Down there somewhere, I think it was Bournemouth. And he used to get his wrestlers off Dale Martin's to wrestle down there. He desperately wanted me there because I was a big draw and I would fill his arena. And he was always there. Woo, 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 Jim will fix it and all that shit. At his club. The thing is, every time I was down there, I'd fill his arena, but he was never there. He'd never show up. I never actually set eyes on him again, ever. But, you know, at that time, we didn't know. He used to come in the dressing room and boast about all the girls that were lining up at his apartment. They'd be lining up his apartment, and he said, like, all these young girls, and he'd say, like, I'll take you, you, and you. The rest of you, you know, come back another time. You might get lucky. That's the kind of, and I mean, he boasted they were young girls, but we didn't realize how bloody young. We didn't realize they were children.
How long did the match go for then, bell to bell?
About I drew it out as long as I could because I was enjoying myself. I really don't know. It's probably maybe 2 or 3 rounds.
I'm surprised he got him for round 2 then. I mean, if that was me, I would have been off the stool and out the back in between rounds to not get any more of that.
Yeah, you can't leave the ring.
Hmm.
Yeah.